G'day, battlers, and today we're going to be jumping right in for the Silph Arena's meta for the month of April, which is going to be the Prismatic Cup. So there is a lot going on in this cup, so there's going to be a lot going on in this video. First, we're going to go over what is the Prismatic Cup and what Pokemon are eligible on the whitelists, because there are whitelists involved. Then we're going to go over my Meta Simplified infographic for the Prismatic Cup. Then we're going to break down my infographic by color, which is another big important part of the Prismatic Cup. And then finally, we're going to touch on a little bit of a resource that's really going to be helpful to kind of break down what is eligible and how to build your team a little bit properly. I'm just going to give you a really good resource for that. But before we jump into that, if you have not already subscribed, please do go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below, because we will be putting out so much Prismatic Cup content over the next month. But yeah, let's jump into it. What is the Prismatic Cup? So running in Great League as per usual. This time it's another bit of a team building sort of cup. You have to bring one Pokemon that is blue from the whitelist, one Pokemon that is red from the whitelist, one Pokemon that's yellow or white, green or black, brown or pink, and then purple or grey, all from the whitelist. So we'll go over the whitelist in a second, but Megas and Shadows are also banned from this cup. But yeah, let's get into the whitelist. So I'm going to move myself down here for just a second, but basically, again, you have to bring one Pokemon that is blue on your team. So you have to bring one of these Pokemon onto your team. So Yahwertle through to Greninja, you have to bring one of these blue Pokemon. Before we go on that, you don't have to absorb all of this info right now. Again, at the end of the video, I'm going to be going over a resource that kind of breaks it down a little bit easier so we can kind of consume it a little bit better. And also, I'm going to be going over a lot of the meta picks in the next part of the video anyway. But yeah, these are the blue Pokemon, then the red Pokemon, the green or black Pokemon, then the purple or grey, the pink and brown, and the yellow and white over on the right hand side. And again, you have to bring one Pokemon from each of these little sections. So let's finally jump into the Meta Simplified infographic and kind of see what's going on. If you didn't get the screenshot, don't worry, because we're actually going to add to this graphic later on this video. So there's going to be a version 2 of this graphic, kind of going to the colors a little bit more. But yeah, this is my Prismatic Cup Meta Simplified infographic, and we have kind of simplified it down into 3 main groups, centering it around the fighting types, because counter is such an oppressive move. Fighting types can be so powerful and so diverse. Every single meta this season so far, I've been using a fighting type. Sunrise was Vigoroth meta, Marsh Cup I used Toxicroak, Nightfall, Metacham was huge, going into Labyrinth, Vigoroth was big again, and now Vortex this month, Primate was again like just the meta maker, the guy who made the meta. So yeah, this month is going to be no different. Counter is here to stay and is going to be doing a fair bit of damage here. So I've broken it down into the red box, which is the fighting types, the green box, which is the anti-fighters, and then the blue box down below, which is the anti-fighters that the fighters are going to be ending up beating. And in each of these boxes, we have a couple of different other sort of roles, types, sort of deals as well. In the green box, we have Charmers, Ghost types, Flyers, and Confusion users, all kind of things you'd expect to be beating the fighting types. And then in the blue box, we have the Ice types, Grass types that kind of just all have another type that is weak to the fighting types, the Rock types, and also the normal types. So again, all kind of types that you expect to be weak to that counter damage. Now, I should make a mention now, these arrows don't necessarily mean that they're winning all of the matchups. So because there is an arrow from the red box to the blue box, doesn't actually necessarily mean that all of them are winning all of the matchups against the blue box. Like for example, in the green box, we have the Charm users, and in the blue box, we have Shiftery. Even though there's a blue arrow from the blue box to the green box, the Charmers are still going to absolutely wreck Shifty because of its Stark typing. So these are kind of just giving you a guide. This is a simplified infographic to kind of give you an idea about what is going on in this cup. And I think it kind of depicts it fairly well. I mean, I may be saying that a little too early. We still have a lot of time to kind of figure out what is actually going on in this meta. But yeah. Also, there are a couple of picks here and kind of like good picks in this cup that we will also talk about in that last segment of the video as well. So do stay tuned for that, because yeah, we will be talking about more Pokemon than just the ones that are on here. Flygon, for example. Jumping right into it though, we have the counter users, and we have Lucario, Hitmontop, Blaziken, and Sudowoodo. I don't have the colors up here yet because they'll be later on in the video, but the colors are kind of going to be a big part of like which Pokemon you sort of pick as you build your team. So you might be going, okay, Hitmontop is the best type in this entire meta, I'm going to bring Hitmontop. But then you're like, oh, but I already have a brown Pokemon, so I can't actually bring that. I'll bring Blaziken instead, who is a red Pokemon. But again, that is discussion that will come more towards the end of the video. For now, let's just focus on the Pokemon. I just recorded about 2 minutes of talking about why the counter users were like good and bad in these matchups. But overall, again, it's like pretty straightforward. Like you would kind of expect these matchups for the fighting types. Beating Ices, beating Steels, beating Darks, beating Rocks, beating Normals, and then losing to Ghosts, Confusion, Flyers, Charm. It's all kind of just stuff that you would expect from the fighters. So I think it's a little bit too straightforward, and I don't think we need to talk about it that much. If you do kind of want me to talk about it, like, you know, leave a comment below and I'll happily answer like all questions about this cup that I know the answer to so far. Because yeah, At this point, the fighters are pretty straightforward. But yeah, jumping into the blue box, we do have a lot of different Pokemon in there. So we have Dewgong and Alolan Sandslash there repping the Ice types. We have Shiftry, Ferrothorn, and Cradily as the Grass types. Crustle and Probopass as those kind of dudes doing big rock damage. Lanoon, Zangoose, Munchlax, Snorlax, and Alolan Muck as the normal types. Even though Alolan Muck isn't normal, this is kind of where I felt like it fit in, because like all these other sort of normal types are doing sort of ghosty, destroy damage like to the kind of blokes over in the green box. So Alolan Muck kind of fits in doing that same sort of anti-ghost, anti-psychic damage with its Dark type, and then is still kind of, you know, it's still taking a lot of damage from the fighting types and doing resisted damage back with Dark Pulse, for example. But yeah, some of these matchups are pretty straightforward. So like, for example, the Probopass and Crustle, they are going to be beating the Ice types because that rock damage is really going to be adding up onto them. And Alolan Sandslash does have a way to fight back with Bulldoze. You won't necessarily be running Bulldoze, like you might decide to run Gyro Ball to maybe hit some other Pokemon a little bit harder, but it's a decision kind of up to you, and Bulldoze definitely does give you a lot of versatility in this cup if you decide to use Alolan did I say Alolan Ninetales? I meant Alolan Sandslash if I didn't say it wrong, or if I was just about to say it wrong, then that was it. But anyway, the grass types, this is another one where the arrow isn't quite telling the full picture. Like Cradily and Shiftry are going to be definitely taking a lot of damage from the ice types, but Ferrothorn is going to be able to do a fair bit of damage back to the Dewgong, because Dewgong has the water typing, and Power Whips coming its way will not be very much appreciated. So yeah, that's another bit of a sort of fuzzy one. Then the grass types actually generally are going to be beating those rock types. That's just kind of how the matchups play out. I guess they're able to kind of outpace it to a lot of damage. Like the rock types are a little bit slow to get its charge moves off. And then the group in the bottom right, the kind of normal types, they're a bit strange. They have fighting damage, a lot of them. So for example, Snorlax has Superpower, Zangoose has Close Combat, Munchlax has Bulldoze, which is kind of similar and just kind of been doing that big nuke onto the steels and the rocks in the rest of this box. So they kind of act as pseudo fighters in a way. So they do have fairly good matchups across the board against the rest of the blue box, but it definitely doesn't tell the full story, and there are a lot of matchups that go the other way and beat the normal type. So I think it's a bit of a case where you might want to just look at what your team is missing when you're building it kind of coverage wise, and obviously color is going to be a big consideration. But yeah, then this blue box is generally beating the green box. So example, we have Flyers. Flyers are going to be weak to the ice types, weak to the rock types, generally just get outpaced generally by the sort of normals and the Alolan Muck in there, and the grass types do generally beat out a lot of them as well. I guess just because Cradily has rock damage, Ferrothorn has thunder, and then Shiftry can just put out a lot of damage. Obviously, Talonflame, for example, is another one that's going to be beating the grass types pretty hard. So don't expect Shiftry to be coming out on top against a Talonflame matchup unless it has like 400 energy. But yeah, just keep in mind that this is going to be a sort of case with some of these. Then we have the Ghost types and the Psychic types, who are both going to be taking super effective damage from the normal Dark, Alolan Muck sort of zone, while also doing generally resisted damage back. Like, you know, they don't really care about ghost damage, they don't really care about too much coming their way. And then the rock types also going to be beating both of them because, I mean, for one, they're going to be doing super effective damage to both of the ghost types because Drifblim has the flying typing and Froslass has the ice typing. And then they just don't really care about confusion. So they can really just out damage basically. Bronzong again has that chance to land the Bulldoze, which could do a bit of damage, but Bulldoze isn't a great move as is. And you know, if any Hypnos are running around running Focus Blast, then they may also do a very good job there. If they can land the Focus Blast, which is definitely a big if. But then we also have the Charm users. Charm, not doing much to Steel, not doing much to Rock, not doing much to Ice. Generally just being outpaced to a lot of charge moves. So that's kind of just why the blue box does end up beating them out. But then in the green box, we actually only have 3 arrows, and that is basically because the flying types are pretty hard to pin down because they are a little bit diverse. So we have the charm users, they're going to be losing to the ghost types as well as the confusion users. Nothing special there, they're just able to outpace, outdamage, outbulk, whatever else. And then the ghost types are going to be beating the confusion users as you kind of expect. They have that psychic typing. Ghost is obviously going to be super effective to psychic, so yeah, they can output a lot of damage there. And then yeah, the flyers, you've got Pelipper and Mantine that are kind of water types. They generally take a little bit of damage, but also don't care too much about the Froslass and the Drifblim. Generally able to do a lot of damage back. Dragonite is one that's kind of going to lose across the board generally to the other green box. Not really loving big confusion damage, not loving the ice from the Froslass, not loving charm. Talonflame is then one that's going to be beating down Bronzong and Trash Wormadam really hard. Forgot the name for a second there. Also beating down Whimsicott really hard. Going to be beating down Froslass pretty hard, although Froslass does have the chance to get an avalanche off, which could kind of flip things. But yeah, Talonflame is definitely another one that's kind of going to break the mold a little bit there. So that is why there's no arrows there. Again, we're just simplifying things here to kind of give you an idea to go out and kind of practice, gain things. And now we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper by adding color into the mix. So we've got the colors here. Basically, the circles underneath each Pokemon are the color group that they're in. So for example, Lucario is in the blue group, Hitmontop is brown or pink, Blaziken is red, etc, etc. So you are going to notice that there is one color that's a little bit underrepresented here. Let me know if you can guess what it is. It's blue. It's blue. There's only 2 blue Pokemon on this graphic. I'll talk about that as well. But this is going to be a really big important thing about how you build your team. So again, as I actually mentioned in the example kind of earlier in this video, you might go, I really want to bring that Shiftry onto my team. Shiftry is just such a good Pokemon, but that means I cannot bring Hitmontop or Sudowoodo. So I'm going to have to bring Lucario or Blaziken as my fighter, which means that I'm going to either need to use my blue spot or my red spot. Maybe you really want Crustle on your team as well, because Crustle's doing really well for you in practice. Crustle's a red Pokemon, so then you go, okay, well I can't bring red, maybe I'll lose Lucario. But then as you kind of build your team a little bit more, you might realize, okay, Lucario doesn't really fit on my team, so I might have to make some compromises over here. Might have to ditch Crustle, use Probopass instead, so that I can then use Blaziken as my fighter instead. So yeah, these colors are just kind of to add on. This is another sort of spot that you can kind of screenshot for later on if you would like to. Yeah, just give you a bit more to work with. But as I said, there are a couple of Pokemon that I have neglected to put on here. And that is something that we can actually talk about as we go into the next section, is talking about the best resource you can use to kind of help you understand the color groupings from before into what is good in this meta, and that is PvPoke, the greatest PvP resource of all time. I have to point out straight away, this is a little bit early, so Regirock was not banned at this time. It is banned now, so just kind of disregard that Regirock is here. Basically, it's just a little bit too exclusive, a little too hard to get, and it being number 1 on the meta was taken off for that reason. But the reason that PvPoke is going to be so helpful for kind of breaking down this meta and understanding it a little bit more is because it has these clickers here. So we can click yellow and white, and we will only see the Pokemon categorized as yellow and white, and kind of see it here. That is so incredibly helpful. PvPoke is such a legend, so we can see, you know, there are a couple of Pokemon that we didn't cover in this video, which is the other thing we want to talk about. So the big color that we did not color in the infographic was blue. The reason is these Pokemon didn't kind of really fit in. So we have Lucario, Lantern, Rainy-Castform, Empoleon, Quagsire. We had a Alolan Sandslash, and it just goes down from there. But these water types didn't really fit into the infographic, but they can be really good to kind of fill out your team, fill out your coverage. So example, if you're a little bit too weak to the flyers, a little bit too weak to say like a Blaziken, you can throw in Lantern and it'll kind of help out your team in that regard a little bit. Then there's something like Quagsire. Quagsire is such a good Pokemon, acting as that pseudo fighter that is not only going to like really hurt things like Probopass, but it also has Stone Edge, which is going to be hurting the flies. It's going to be hurting the Frostlass and the Drifloon. It's just really going to do a really good job. So I think Quagsire is going to be sort of a big dude in this cup. Yeah, Talonflame, Lantern, Flygon, Dugong, definitely going to be doing a lot of work. So expect to see some Quagsires. Blue might be a slot that you either give to Lucario or might give to one of these water types to kind of give you a bit more coverage. If we go over into red, there's a couple of fire types that we didn't cover. We didn't cover Sunny-Castform or Charizard. You can see that the ranks are really getting low numbers here. Fire does not get a lot of love in this cup, and the fact that all of the red Pokemon, like these big red Pokemon, are fire types, it's definitely a little bit rough for them. So you might be a little bit, you might want to like maybe pick your red Pokemon first, because there are a lot fewer options. Like you're not going to be using Porygon 2 as your red Pokemon, so you might decide to pick your red Pokemon first and then go from there. Yellow and white, we didn't cover Snowy-Castform because I kind of don't want to be covering Snowy-Castform because it is a Pokemon that only has ice moves, and it is a little bit more restricted than some other Pokemon. So something like Frostlass is way more versatile than Snowy-Castform ever will. Not ever will be. Maybe we'll get a good move one day. But yeah, things we didn't cover. So Ninetales could be okay, but I think there's better fire types in this meta. Obviously, a lot of the fire types are in the red group, so if you really need another fire type, you need some fire damage, and you have the yellow and white slot available, you might decide to bring Ninetales on in that slot. Also, Zapdos, Togekiss, and you are getting a bit low at that point. Green and black, Flygon is the big one here that is currently on this PvPoke rankings, ranked at number 3. It'll probably change a little bit, especially with Regirock being taken out. But Flygon is a Pokemon that could do well, but it is really squishy. It takes a lot of damage, so I'm not sure if it will. It does, again, feel that sort of pseudo-fighter role by having that ground damage. Really hurts the sort of Probopasses and the Ferrothorns of the world. I guess it also takes a bit of damage from Ferrothorn. But yeah, also does have Stone Edge, which if you land it, going to be good against the flies and stuff as well. Other things are Chestnut, Meganium, the grass types that may not perform as well. It kind of depends how big these blue dudes are going to be. if we see heaps of Quagsire, heaps of Lantern, heaps of Empoleon, then the grass types might have a bit more stock, but that's depending if you want to use your green or black slot on that. You might instead opt for the Ferrothorn from the grey slot, for example. In the brown and pink slot, Regirock obviously is no longer in this meta. Hariyama, Alomomola, Noctowl, and again getting pretty low at that point. And in the purple and grey, we're seeing Fortress, which I originally had in the graphic, but ended up taking out because it just didn't perform that well. I'm sure Speediest Chief will come in and like just fortress everyone away, but yeah. Then there's Gengar, Magnezone, Machoke, Steelix, Excadrill, Haunter. This was kind of a spot that a lot of these dudes I had on the graphic originally, and then I took them off because they just didn't perform as well. It might be a case that you use them because they are purple and grey and you have the slot left on your team, or you might just go for, Probopass instead of even looking at like a Steelix, for example. But yeah. Please use PvP. I'm going to link to his Patreon again in the description below because he seriously deserves so much support. Greatest person in the entire PvP community, and we would not be where we are without him. I do want to point out that there are no ads here because this is like the beta version of the PvP. I promise I'm not using ad block, I promise. But yeah, with that said, that is my Meta Simplified infographic. Sorry if it was a little bit kind of all over the shop because it's definitely a really complicated meta. I'm hoping that as time goes on, as the days goes on, we can all kind of collectively figure out this meta a little bit more. This is just a first look and we will get more information, and hopefully the next videos will be a little bit more clear, give a bit more direction. And yeah, I'm hoping to have a few cameos over the next month, so definitely subscribe for that. Stay tuned for all the I forgot the name of the cup already. The Prismatic Cup Meta. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of videos, so definitely stay tuned for that. You can go and watch that battle video up there. That I did do some battles up against Sosaflow. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Thank you to my patrons and supporters over on Twitch, including my newest patron, TheMariachiMan, right here. Much to you. And also, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Again, there's kind of there's the battle video that you can watch up there, and then once we have another video, I'll put it down the bottom as well. Okay, bye. Oh no, that didn't take me off.